I would like to do is give a little bit of background to the work that you see here, Life Writer, and show you a kind of line of thought and a line of ideas that led up to producing this work. Maybe you have heard of Lev Manovich. He's an important scholar in the field of media art and media theory. And he wrote a couple of years ago in the language of new media, which is now 10 years ago actually, that he predicted that we will see a language of cultural interfaces developing just as the language of cinema developed 100 years ago. And I hope to show in this lecture that I think that this kind of development of cultural interfaces is happening right now. What interests us personally is the notion of interaction in art, and of course we didn't invent this at all. Interaction in art is actually an old concept. When we look back to Dadaism, happenings in Fluxus, we can see that for a long time artists have been interested in this idea of bringing the public close to the work and even have the public participate in the work and open up the work of art. Also in conceptual art, there are many examples of artists that go beyond this idea of the fixed artwork and have a very strong connection to the input of the audience.
Is to reproduce, indeed already? Yes, that's the one, yeah. And so this one is now part of the tool, and then we look for food and do the same.
What I believe are some kind of cultural interfaces, and these interfaces from our artistic point of view are always striving for a kind of connection between virtual space and real space. Tangible interaction, I think, is something that's very hot right now. Many people are still dealing, and I think if we look at the iPhone and other touch-based interactions, this idea of connecting to the virtual space through tangible interaction is something that has had, of course, a long history, but is becoming very mainstream right now.
But if you put the AAA creature, it's the same one.
And what makes them stay?
One letter makes.
Let me now finally come to complex adaptive systems. I think this exhibition here is a very good example of bringing together artistic and also scientific projects and prototypes. We've been interested in artificial life and complex systems for a long time, and several of our works try to illustrate those points. Artificial life is, for those maybe who didn't hear so much about it, is a study that looks on systems that self-organize, metabolize, self-reproduce, and show some forms of adaptive evolution. And there are, of course, many artists since maybe the last 20, 30 years that looked at this idea of how one can use computer models to create open-ended systems that displays these different features as aimed by artificial life. It was founded in '87 by Christopher Langton in Los Alamos workshop of artificial life. And many scientists have looked at how one can model such artificial systems that show some forms of evolution and adaptation. Genetic algorithms is, for example, something that's interesting, not only for scientists, of course, but also for artists. And I think recently we have seen a whole field of generative art that is using many of such principles of artificial evolution and the idea of Darwinian's strategy of survival of the fittest. And I will show you some examples just in a minute. Genetic programming, I think, is another paradigm that has become now very popular, where the idea of reproduction, mutation, crossover, inversion, duplication, and so forth, different operations can be used in a computer program to create open-ended systems. Let me now go to the work that is on display here from 2006. It's strongly influenced, of course, as you have seen now, by the idea of genetic programming or artificial life and generative systems, but in this case with a combination of a media archaeological interface. In this case, an old typewriter that we bought on the flea market in Linz. and Laurent adapted it to become a kind of computer where every key is linked to our handmade interface, and the paper tray is also linked and positioned with the screen position. And when users type text, real text appears here first, but once you use the handle here, the little letter transforms into insects, and their genetic code is directly the letters, and their genetic code is influencing the way they behave. So a bit similar to the works that I showed you before. Here again, user input leads to the direct life-like forms that in a way escape also the user's input and take on a life by themselves. Just here a small sequence. I think it's probably better if you try it. It's always the case with this documentation. It's just like one way of using them, but of course it's much more interesting if you start using it by yourself and explore the different functions. You see also that the screen is moving, so actually the paper is becoming the screen. And what we experienced also just 2 weeks ago in Tokyo, where we showed the exhibition, or this work also, is that many people are fascinated by this idea that the machine itself is becoming a kind of mediated tool, a kind of digital tool, while of course everyone knows that this is a very obsolete technology. So this idea of obsolete technology transformed into a nowadays technology, I think is something that many people found intriguing. Another interesting aspect we experienced with this machine is that the way how people use it is very strongly linked to their generation. So like older people, of course, still know how to use this machine, while young people obviously didn't have so much experience with this technology before. I'm not sure how I'm doing with the time. I heard we have a bit time for...